Hi everybody, this is Missy Cook from 631.com. I am super excited today to be here with Tina Brookhouse from Tina Brookhouse Fitness, and we are going to talk all about how to follow your passions to create a business and a life you love. Tina, how are you doing today?
Just great.
Good. I'm excited to be here with you.
Me too. We finally meet. And,
Finally, right?
Yeah.
So why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about your business and how you got started?
Okay. Basically, I had a heart disorder, and the doctor told me I would have surgery if I didn't take some weight off. So it all started about 10 years ago when I personally had weight to take off. It was a long process, and I started going to classes at the Y, and I really loved it. But I would see people come and go, and they would do 1 or 2 classes and then leave. Maybe because they didn't have the same kind of health goal that I had, because I knew that I didn't want that heart surgery. So I would see them come and go, and I thought, there's got to be a way to kind of reach these people, teach in a different way so it's not so intimidating.
Sure.
Because the classes can be so intimidating. So just the more I did classes, the more I loved it, and I decided to become certified to teach. So I taught at the Y, Parkwood Y first, and then I spent 8 years at the MAC in East Lansing, and I worked with special populations. I worked with the seniors for 8 years, and that was just a great experience. And I just realized that I really had a knack for offering a different way so that it was not intimidating, and I could give lots of different options for a particular exercise, so it really could include everybody. Sure. Instead of just like what you think of the gym rats, where everybody just looks perfect and everybody has to work super hard and do it all the same way. So I realized I had a knack for that. And I thought, oh, maybe I could bring it to Williamston. Maybe I'll just open a little place and see. And at the time, I had 10 spinning bikes. I was down in the little plaza by Subway, just to 500 square feet. Mm-hmm. And it went pretty well. And then I added another 500 square feet down there. And then I kind of grew out of that. So then I moved to this location, and I've been here for almost 3 years.
Okay.
Here. So I've been open 5 years now.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you probably had lots of ups and downs then through all of that.
Yes, definitely. And even today, you might have seen my Facebook post today. My heart is so involved in, I get so attached to my clients because, I mean, I'm really working with them on a personal level, helping them with their health goals. And it can be a roller coaster if people decide, you know, that they just don't stick with the program. Trying to sell something that people really find challenging to do is really hard work. Mm-hmm. It's easy to sell, like in a restaurant, sell food. It's not so easy to sell exercise. So, yeah, it's just constant. Before I opened, I had no idea that it would just be pretty all-consuming, having your own business.
Sure.
So, yeah, there's a lot of ups and downs. But it's so rewarding when you know you are helping people and they're so thankful. Mm-hmm. So that's why I keep doing it. It's certainly not to get rich by any means, or it's really, you know, I'm lucky to be able to pay the bills on my business. Mm-hmm. But I just can't let it go because I just enjoy the work so much.
You found the thing that fills you up, right?
Yeah.
And so I think part of 631 is that we like to challenge ourselves to have a blast. And I really personally believe that if you're not having fun and you're not making a difference, then something's going to be lacking.
Definitely.
And I think that the third pillar is being challenged, whether it's physically or emotionally. And you have to do all three. You have to be challenged, and you have to make a difference, and you have to be having fun, or it's just not worth it.
Exactly,
and
I agree.
That's what makes those long hours worthwhile, right?
Exactly. It really does. For sure. The challenge is, I've learned so much. I was never a business person. I never owned a business before. I was really just trying to share my passion. And that has been extremely rewarding. All the things I've had to learn about business itself, though, that's been the roller coaster. Yeah,
Right.
So I have learned so much, and I have really conquered so many things that I didn't think I would ever be able to. So that's the other reward.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you think that because business is so challenging, I often find myself thinking about life and then relating that to business, and then vice versa. I read something about business
Right.
and think about life. So do you feel like as you started to understand your clients more, that helped you understand selling to your clients more and how to run a business because you understood the people?
Right, and their needs and what they were looking for. Yes, and I found that sometimes that didn't really necessarily jive with the way that I would want things to be necessarily. Sure. Does that make sense? Sure. I've had to compromise a little bit on a little bit of my philosophy, so that's been challenging. But yes, trying to key into the needs of the clientele.
I think that it's impressive when you recognize that you are not your ideal client necessarily, and then you take steps to correct it, because especially when it's, you're a solo business owner here and you pour your heart and soul into something.
I was just going to say the heart part of that is very difficult.
Right.
Yes.
And I think it's a give and take, though, because then you are getting, by being willing to give up that little part of yourself, then you get so much back from the people that you're trying to help that it's really worthwhile.
Yeah. And I find, too, since I've added my self-defense passion, that has been very rewarding as well.
You mentioned a little story about why you're so passionate about self-defense.
Yeah, well, basically, I actually took some self-defense for myself at the MAC. When I just felt like right now with our economy and with a lot of the stuff that's going on politically, I felt that I needed to take a more active role maybe in the protection of my family and of myself. I feel like when the economy is kind of taking a downturn, then there's a lot more danger out there. My son, actually, as a matter of fact, his house was robbed for the second time in 2 years in Lansing. So I think, people get desperate in those times, and there can just be more crime. So I took that class at the MAC, and I just loved the empowerment of really paying attention self-defense-wise of everything going around us. I was surprised at how much I just kind of was blundering through, not really aware all the time. And then also politically, I thought there could be some danger and possibly some gun control issues, and I'm very pro-Second Amendment. So I decided I really need to make sure that I feel like I can have defense with a weapon. So I decided to take classes, my gun safety classes, and then I learned a ton of self-defense in there as well. So then combining the two together, although of course I don't teach armed self-defense here, but I just think that, and my daughter's a college student and on campus, so I think there's just such a huge need for women to be careful and protect ourselves. So to me, that has become a really big passion just recently within the last couple of years. And I work with a police officer to teach the self-defense. And it just gives me more security every day. So
that's great. Do you feel like as you discovered that passion or any passion in general, that it's sort of like adding a layer to yourself that you didn't know was there?
Yeah, definitely.
Do you ever feel like, I have a lot of people feel like they have to make a choice, like they couldn't possibly follow two passions, but you're here and you're teaching several different kinds of classes. Right. So what would you say to someone who feels like they have to choose what they do?
I think that, I could say that they all kind of tie in together, my passions, because I'm trying to make people stronger all the way around, with the fitness classes, with the defense classes. So it kind of follows the same line. They have one thing to do with the other. But I think just as you add, it just grows from there. So, I think that you shouldn't limit yourself to thinking, I have to just do this one thing, because you never know. The side thing actually may become more profitable or more rewarding than what you were doing originally.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I read an article a few months ago, and it was saying that there's no harm in waiting to choose. So it's a little backwards, because I encourage my clients and my listeners to make a choice. And I always say, if you don't decide, you're deciding. Mm-hmm. The act of not choosing is choosing. You cannot escape reality.
Right.
But there's something to be said for just letting something marinate and just seeing what happens, and not choosing one way or another at first.
Right. But I do see your point. And that has been one of my biggest challenges also, is just decision making. Trying to decide on all these things. In a business, you're just constantly making decisions. So that's not been my favorite part of the process. So, yes.
Right. You have to find the thing that makes all the other things worthwhile.
Yes.
Because you always have things that you don't want.
Right.
In a job that you don't like, or in a job that you love, or in a hobby or anything else. There's always the thing that you don't love.
Right.
You just got to find that thing that makes it all worth keep going.
Yeah.
So, owning a yoga studio who caters to maybe a less physical crowd is a little bit different. So have you ever gotten any criticism or any sort of reluctance from people for doing your own thing and jumping out on your own?
Oh, definitely. And we kind of had the little conversation that I am pretty outspoken politically, and I homeschooled my children, so I've never been one that did things according to the crowd. So I've been chastised quite often for actually being so bold with my opinions.
I'm familiar.
Yeah, but what I have found with that, surprisingly, is that, and I don't ever do it in a way that, I try to educate. I don't do it in a way that is demeaning or saying anything about a person personally. I kind of talk about ideals. But what I have found with being honest and being outspoken is that actually I have gotten busier since I've done that. Almost like people are kind of looking for role models or people to be outspoken. Does that make sense?
I think it does. I think...
you always run the danger of isolating a portion of people when you do that. But I've had so many people come to me and say, I just love that you speak out about these issues that we're faced with right now. Mm-hmm. And I may not have wanted to exercise or pay to exercise before, but I want to support you. So that's been a very interesting, unexpected kind of benefit of just being who you are,
I think so. And being courageous enough to tell people who you really are. Because I don't think that very many people do that on a regular basis. No. And you can never please everybody.
Right.
So you can hide who you are, hoping to please everyone and fail, or just open up and just let it go, and then that's going to be who you are. Yes. And the people who are like you or who understand you are going to be your number one fans.
Right. And they can even, I even find that I get fans that may not agree with what I'm saying, but they wish that they had the courage to say, certain things or stand up for certain things. Mm-hmm. They don't do it themselves, but they wish they could. And they don't necessarily even agree with me, but they appreciate the passion and the courage, I think.
They're respecting who you are.
Right.
or your right to have an opinion.
Right.
And I think that that's encouraging when anyone, especially when women stand up for other women or for the underserved minority.
Yes, yes.
And I sometimes feel somewhere mixed about this line because there's an argument about the underserved minority and how much help they need versus letting people figure things out on their own. But I really think that everyone is in some kind of underserved minority. Everybody.
I agree.
And everybody needs help with something. So if you have a talent or a skill that you can share with someone and help serve that minority, then that's where you should be.
Right.
You know?
I agree. That makes sense. Yes. I totally understand that, yeah.
What would you say to someone who says it's too hard or that they could never be so unconventional?
Part of it I will say must just be genetics and personality. I don't know. It can be a real frustration to me when I see other women business owners in the area, and they stay so, I'll call it beige, right there in the center. They don't ever, because they're afraid of losing business or losing popularity if they do this or do that the crowd isn't doing. And I find it so frustrating because I don't think they're able to reach their potential by being so...
inside the lines.
Yeah.
Right. They're afraid to make anybody angry or to do or to upset. I don't even know if people are worried about angering someone so much as that they just don't want to stick out.
Yes.
They don't want people to feel badly about them in any way.
Yeah.
So it takes a lot of courage, I think, and motivation to make that leap. What would you say after you finally make that decision to just go for it and to be who you are and to jump out there, looking back, was it as hard to make that decision as you thought before you made it?
Probably not, just because the whole driving force of why I speak out on different things, to me, has a lot to do with my children and their future, of what I think this country should be for them. So in a way, I almost feel like I do a lot of what I do, the homeschooling, speaking out on different issues that we're grappling with in politics. To me, even though it's hard, I feel like it's worth it because somewhere, somehow, I'm hoping that it's going to help my children's future. And sometimes I just kind of settle with the idea that this is hard, but it's just kind of my lot. I just feel that conviction to share it and try to make a difference.
So, sure. So it's kind of, I like what you said about people contacting you to say thank you for being so bold.
Messages
and to be
constantly.
So open.
I get on Facebook messages. I have people call me on the phone and say, I can't believe you were courageous enough to say that. I so agree with you. And I think, then why don't you say it?
But I think it.
But I know
back.
they're afraid. But just being bold. I think that in the long run, though, they might be surprised at the kind of reception they get for saying it, like I have been. So in the long run, to me, it's definitely been worth it.
I think I said to someone the other day, an argument is not about convincing somebody that you're right. A discussion, which is obviously better than an argument,
right,
is to find the people who already agree with you and then to take that message and make it bigger. And I think that by speaking out, you are giving all those people who are still too fearful to say anything the voice.
Right.
And you are making that message spread because they may not be courageous enough to speak publicly, but they will speak to their friends and their family
Right.
members and spread that message virally,
Right.
Or underground.
Right, right. And I think because I have a business in the community, so I'm more visible. You know, I just have a little bit more of an advantage in people noticing
Right.
what I'm saying.
You have a platform.
Both to the good and the bad, but yeah. Yes.
You can't have the good without the bad,
Right.
right? So, you said you've been doing the yoga now with your own business for 5 years.
Right.
But you were doing it for several years before that.
I actually did it as a participant for a few years, and then I took my training, and then, so altogether I've been teaching for about 10 years now. I teach yoga and group cycling or spinning, strength and toning, all kinds of different things in the self-defense. My favorite of all of them, right now I'm really into the self-defense, but my favorite overall is yoga, definitely.
Why do you think yoga is your favorite?
I love the mind-body connection of just making, when you come into class, you focus on yourself for an hour. You know, I say that yoga kind of heals us physically and mentally so that we can go out and help others. A lot of time, especially women with their kids, and they can't get away, and if they could just get that hour once a week even in yoga to kind of clear their minds. A lot of people think, oh, I can't take the time to exercise, I can't get away from the kids, I can't do this and that. They would be so much more energized for the rest of their week if they even just took that one class for themselves a week. And I say especially women, because women tend to be the ones that are doing it all the time.
The martyrs.
Yes.
Right.
So we nurture everybody all the time. We nurture our parents, we nurture our children, our spouses, our neighbors, our women friends. But we're not very good at nurturing ourselves.
No, we're not.
No.
And I think that, I love what you said, that if these women are feeling so drained and so tired, and if they could just do one thing that was only for them and nobody else, it clears so much of that frustration and just that heaviness of feeling like you never get a break or time to think.
And if you have it to look forward to every week, then yes. And, I have moms tell me, I just get goosebumps in class. I'm actually getting them here thinking about it, because I talk a little bit. We do the physical poses, but I also talk about setting your intention for that hour to really be mindful of yourself. Let everything else go. So that is, and I don't teach a spiritual yoga. Yoga has its roots in like the Hindu religion. So a lot of people are opposed to doing yoga. I teach more of, I don't do any of the religious component to the yoga. It's the physical practice and just the mind-body relaxation meditation.
Just teaching your, I think, mind how to be in sync with your body.
Yes.
And that's how, spiritually, I think, when you can connect your body and your mind, it's so much easier to find a spiritual connection. Whether that is religious or it's somewhere else. Right. Really doesn't matter. But I love what you do, because you take people who have this major disconnect and you show them how to come back together, bring their body together with everything else.
Yeah. And it creates a strong body as well, muscularly. I say in my self-defense class that a real effectiveness of self-defense and being able to actually fight should you ever need to is the other parts of the physical fitness too. Being actually physically fit is so important to everything we learn in self-defense too. It just all works together.
It is. Yeah. It's definitely a holistic connection.
Yes. Yeah.
I think so. I have background in martial arts, so I like to hear when other people teach self-defense. Yeah. So, if you had to say that there's probably more than one thing, there always is, but if there's one thing that drives you crazy about following your passion or doing the thing that you feel you were called to do? And what is that?
Like you say, there are so many. One thing that is really frustrating for me is when people give up on their new lifestyle they're trying to change, and they're doing so well, and then they just quit because life gets in the way, or they get tired, or they get busy. It's just so, because I get so connected to all of my people here. They actually call me Mama Tina. I have several that have been with me since the beginning, and it's so rewarding. But it makes me so sad when somebody will start and do really good for 2 months and then just fall away. That's because I know that they'd feel so much better if they just stick with it.
If they just stick with it. And there's probably, I think everyone's time limit is different, but you get to a hump or a plateau.
Yes.
And I had a health coach one time tell me, that's when you really have to decide if you're going to dig in or if you're going to give up.
Yeah.
And it
so
is
true.
tough when people give up at that point.
Yes.
I think that even with that heartache and that frustration that you can't help everyone, and the million other frustrations that come along with doing what you want, do you still feel like the positive benefits that you get from doing the thing that you're meant to do is better than avoiding all of the hurt and the frustration and
totally.
doing something
else?
Yes,
totally better. So much better. Like I've even thought about, okay, this is so much work, and am I really making a difference? And then I'll get a really nice email and somebody will say, you are making such a difference in my life. So it's so worth it. I've even thought, should I just get a job, where I'm there from 9 to 5? But what would I do? My passion is this. Mm-hmm. And I think, what would I actually do if I weren't doing what I really enjoy? So, it's totally worth it.
I think
you have to really, like you say, really be connected. Your work should be your passion. There is that saying that once you start taking your passion to your work, making it your work, that it no longer becomes your passion because you're just working. Mm-hmm. I haven't really found that.
I think it's really great because your passion keeps you connected to people. It's a requirement of your job to stay connected, and I think for women especially, we get so busy and we do play the martyr that we forget to connect with other people, especially other women, and have real meaningful relationships. And so you get to do that reconnecting. That's really great.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So we are running out of time here. We're getting close to the end, but is there anything about your business or just about being your own person and going out on your own and having the courage to keep moving forward even in the face of everyone saying you can't do it? What do you want to add, or do you have any closing thoughts for people?
I just think that if you are connected to that one passion, that you think to yourself, I really love this. I would love it if I could do it for a career. I think everybody should just really try to. I know that we're so concerned. We have to pay our bills, right? Mm-hmm. But I think it would be sad to just go through life doing a job that we just have to do to pay the bills. And that's a noble thing too. Of course, we have to take care of our families. But I'm just glad that I decided to try to really reach out to people. My studio is so different than a gym. I spend a lot more time with each person individually. Mm-hmm. But what do you think with your stepping out? It's frightening.
It is frightening, but I think that for me, I realized that I was fearful of all of the things that I could do until I realized that doing something had nothing to do with what I wanted to achieve.
Right.
And when I reframed that thought to what do I want to achieve in my life, it was so much more scarier to keep doing what I was doing when I answer that question than it was to say, I'm going to do what I want to achieve. I'm going to what I need to do in order to get what I want to achieve, and it's not so scary anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we are going
awesome.
to wrap up. Thank you so much for being here.
It's so nice to meet you.
Letting me come here and meet you in person. If anybody lives locally to the Lansing or Williamston area and wants to check out Tina's classes, you can go to tinabrickhousefitness.com. Or if you want more tips and tricks for getting out of your head and getting on with getting on, you can sign up for my newsletter at 631.com. Thanks again, Tina. I hope you have a great night, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you.